Hello, this is Reading Junior Classics, Volume 1, Fairy and Wonder Tales. Introduction. The purpose of the Junior Classics is to provide in 10 volumes containing about 5,000 pages a classified collection of tales, stories, and poems, both ancient and modern, suitable for boys and girls from 6 to 16 years of age. Thoughtful parents and teachers who realize the evils of indiscriminate reading on the part of children will appreciate the educational value of such a collection. A child's taste in reading is formed, as a rule, in the first 10 or 12 years of its life, and experience has shown that the childish mind will prefer good literature to any other, if access to it is made easy, and will develop far better on literature of proven merit than the trivial or transitory material. The boy or girl who becomes familiar with the charming tales and poems in this collection will have gained a knowledge of literature and history that will be of high value in other school and home work. Here are the real elements of imaginative narration, poetry, and ethics which should enter into the education of every English-speaking child. This collection, carefully used by parents and teachers with due reference to individual tastes and needs, will make many children enjoy good literature. It will inspire them with love of good reading, which is the best positive possible result of any elementary education. The child himself should be encouraged to make his own selection from this large and varied collection. The child's enjoyment being the object in view, a real and lasting interest in literature or in scholarship is only to be developed through the individual's enjoyment of his mental occupations. The most important change which has been made in American school and colleges within my memory is the substitution of leading for driving, of inspirational for drill, of personal interest and love of work for compulsion and fear. The schools are learning to use methods and materials which interest and attract the children themselves. The junior classics will put into the homes the means of use of happy methods, committing to memory beautiful pieces of literature, either prose or poetry, for recitation before a friendly audience, acting charades or plays, and reading aloud with vivacity and sympathetic emotions are good means of instruction at home or at school. This collection contains numerous admirable pieces of literature for such use. In teaching English and English literature, we should place more reliance upon process and acts which awaken emotion, stimulate interest, prove to be enjoyable for the actors, and result in giving children the power of entertaining people, of blessed others with noble pleasure, which the children create and share. From the home training during childhood, there should result in the child a taste for interesting and improving reading, which will direct and inspire its subsequent intelligent life. The training which results in this state for good reading, however, must unsystematically or eccentrically it may have been, has achieved one principal aim of education, and any school or home training which does not result in implementing this permanent state has failed in every important respect. Guided and animated by this impulse to acquire knowledge and exercise the imagination through good reading, and the adult will continue to educate him all through life. The story of the human race, through all its slow development, should be gradually conveyed to the child's mind from the time he begins to read or to listen to his mother's reading, with the description of facts and actual events should be mingled charmingly and uplifted products of the imagination. To try to feed the minds of children upon facts alone is undesirable and unwise. The immense product of imagination in art and literature is concrete fact, which every educated human being should be made somewhat familiar with. that product being a very real part of every individual's actual environment. The right selection of reading matter for children is obvious of high importance. Some of the mythologies, Old Testament stories, fairy tales, and historical romances on which earlier generations were accustomed to feed their childish minds contain a great deal that is barbarous, perverse, or cruel. And to this infiltration into children's minds, generation after generation, of immoral, cruel, or foolish ideas is probably to be attributed in part the slow ethical progress of the race. The commonmost justification for this thoughtless practice is that children do not apprehend the evil in the bad mental pictures with which we foolishly supply them. But what would we think of a mother who gave her children dirty milk or porridge, on the theory that the children would not assimilate the dirt? Should we be less careful about the mental and moral food materials? The junior classics have been selected with this principle in mind, without losing sight of the fact that every developing human being needs to have a vision of rough and thorny road over which the human race has slowly advancing during thousands of years. Whoever has committed to memory in childhood such Bible extracts as Genesis first, the Ten Commandments, Psalms 23, Matthew 5, 8, 12, the Lord's Prayer, the Corinthians, such English prose as Lincoln's Gettysburg, Bacon's Essay on Truth, and such poems as Byron's Waterfowl, Addison's Divine Ode, Milton's Sonnet of his Blindness, Wilton's How Happy is He Born or Taught, Emerson's Rodea, Holmes' Chamber Nautilus, and Gray Elgar as and has stamped on them his brain by frequent repetition, will have set up in his mind high standards of noble thought and feeling, true patriotism and pure religion. He will also have laid an invaluable store of good English. While the majority of the tales and poems are intended for children who have begun to do their own reading, there will be found in every volume selections fit for reading aloud to younger children. Throughout this collection, the authors tell stories in their own words, so that the salt which gave them savor is preserved. There are some considerations, however, such as any good teller of borrowed stories would make, but as a rule, consideration has been applied only in the case of long works which otherwise would not have been included. The notes which precede the considerations supply explanations and answers questions which experience has shown boys and girls are apt to ask about the works condensed or their authors. The junior classics constitute a set of books whose contents will delight children and at the same time satisfy the legitimate ethical requirements of those who have the children's best interest at heart. Charles W. Eliot.